Reconnect due to poor. I think I'm good now. Okay, we're going. We're rolling.
Conditions. Looks like 70s tomorrow, 50s and 60s, 50% for the morning. Thursday tapering off. Can be partly cloudy in the afternoon and in the upper 60s. The Mississippi Gulf Coast Gem and Mineral Society presents its annual Magnolia State Gem, Mineral, Fossil, and Jewelry Show. Exhibits, demonstrations, educational resources, fossils, gems, stones, jewelry, beads, pearls, supplies. Friday, Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. November 10th, 11th, and 12th. The Jackson County Fairgrounds, Pascagoula. $3 for one-day pass, $5 for three-day pass. Kids 12 and under free with paid adult admission. Get more info at mgcgms.org. I'm Sanjay, WGSO.
Welcome to William Wallace's Town Hall on WGSO 990 AM and at WGSO.com. Questions or comments for your host, call 504-556-9696. And now here's your host, William Wallace.
Welcome, everybody. Bill is out today. He is taking care of some business with a gun show. I'm going to be filling in. This is Charles Marsala. You've often heard me the last few months coming in with an update on the monuments and some political advice. Is how I critique what's going on in our city council. I'm New Orleans native, went out to California, became mayor of a city in Silicon Valley, and came back here last year and ran for Senate. So a lot of family in Monroe, Louisiana, and Jesuit and Tulane graduate. We got a great show lined up tonight. We got a lot of people calling in. We expect to hear from Senate candidate John Schroeder. We're going to talk about Veterans Days. We got a gentleman calling in on the programs for veterans on loans and lending. We're going to hear a little bit about a monument that may go up, a Confederate monument on the western part of the state. We also have a guy that I did some work with at Tulane, and he's going to call and talk about wave craze. Back in 1979, Tulane had a great season. We're going to reminisce about that in the recent homecoming experience. And we're going to update on all that's going on in the city council as well right now, and a little bit of environmental issues too with the dead zone that's going on in the Gulf. So let's get started. The first thing I did want to talk to you about is just this afternoon, a letter went out to Mayor Landrieu, who was a classmate of mine, asking him for 9 different items from the state to review the city council expenses. And that is something we've been talking about here the last 2 times I've been a guest on Bill's show about these credit cards. And that my opinion was Jason needs to step up and have a city council meeting and let the residents talk about this. And that hasn't happened. So now we see that the state is probably going to force that to happen with this list that the state's going to audit the city council and all city council members. Council Member Latoya Cantrell, she is like a case history that you'd have in business school because of what's happened recently, but all of them need to be done, and the whole council policy needs to be reviewed. And by that, what do we mean? I mean, if you get elected to the city council and within 2 months you head off to Ghana, or within 6 months you go to Ghana looking at putting in a slave ship museum into New Orleans, and you spend $2,200 and your monthly allotment is $2,500, where does that leave you for the rest of that month? So if you do that, and then later we see a trip to the Italian Alps on our credit card, we see several trips to the Aspen Institute, both in Colorado, and there's an alumni reunion in New York. When I was on the city council for 8 years and we had these opportunities, all this was on our own nickel. Or if as a representative of our town, I was going to go someplace, say, to cast a vote for the town. At that point, I would be chosen among my other council members to represent our town. I would go there and they would approve and authorize the expense before it happened. You wouldn't see 30 business trips on a credit card with never a council meeting to approve them. And you wonder how many other council members have this type of expense going on. I mean, I love Italy, and I'm sure the Italian Alps, that institute, oddly enough, they were there studying flooding, water resiliency, and yet that was 4 years ago. So what's the report? I mean, should council members, if they take a trip, come back and write a report, let the residents see what they learned, what they're going to implement, what was achieved? Was it just simply personal growth, or was it in connecting and connections that help you outside of your council life, where you may have some benefits to the city of New Orleans? All these issues need to be resolved at the city council level with the policy, and that's what we see with the 9 items that the state has now asked Mayor Landrieu to provide regarding the city council and their record books and their policies as to how they can use these credit cards. Next year, the new council doesn't take effect until May 19th. We call that the smart inauguration, that they should be installed in January, because what if you have a council member that's leaving office spend their full $30,000 in their budget for the year, and the new guy comes in office, the new woman, and they have nothing left in the budget, or maybe there's just $5,000 left because they've pre-ordered certain things that have a one-year contract, like we've seen with Salesforce.com or software that somebody might want to use. It's a one-year subscription. You could blow through that budget and not leave anything for the new people coming on board. So we often propose that there should have been an inauguration in January, whoever gets elected, and let those people start dealing with the budget, let them start appointing. We have 300 or 270 open positions at Sewage and Water Board. There was a big meeting today that went for at least 5 hours where they were talking about double billing residents. We're talking about how short-staffed they are. The new head of the Sewage and Water Board should be addressing that, and not to allow the new council and the new mayor to nominate somebody and vet them when we are in such dire straits to cleaning up our Sewage and Water Board situation. Seems to be putting the 300th anniversary tricentennial celebration in front of the needs of the city. They'll take an office right before hurricane season starts in 2018 and have a lot to deal with in a short amount of time. So the other issue I wanted to talk about here is I do want to say I've been to the Saints game the last 2 weeks, and they are dealing with a few issues, it seems, because now they have a quasi-kneel. They knelt right before the game anthem and then stood up. And then we saw the booing real quick, and then we saw them say, well, we're not booing because the next week was Veterans Day celebrations this past weekend. A lot of activity on the scoreboard, service, honoring service people, but yet it's too little too late, because we had a gentleman who said, I just don't want to be part of this anymore. We have a lot of other people who have backed out because it's too confusing. Are you kneeling for the national anthem? If you're kneeling right before, you're still kneeling for the national anthem. But my dad and I had a lot of great memories of the Saints game, so I always wish the Saints well. At the same time, if they had an issue with police issues, I would say go to the city council meeting. It'd be great to see all those Saint players go to a city council meeting and tell the city council that they don't like the police chief and they think he's hired the wrong policeman. What are they exactly protesting? And you can do that league-wide. There's 32 cities. So in St. Louis, if you don't like the police chief and what he's done, just have the players go to City Hall and make a statement as opposed to at the game. Coming up this weekend is Veterans Day weekend, and that is a big day for us, especially since we have the World War II Museum, which is #2 in the world right now for museums. It is a fabulous place there that they've expanded from just the D-Day Museum and honoring Andrew Higgins, who built the boat, and the PT 305 boat, which is an amazing trip right now. If you get a chance, good friend Dale Casey is riding that boat. I would captain it. Take a ride on the PT 305. We this weekend down in Lakeview and Harrison, there'll be a Veterans Day parade. There's also all kind of other celebrations going on around town. It's a great and important day to respect those who are veterans, as well as those who did not get the opportunity to become veterans because they did not return from war and serving our country. The Arlington, which brings us up to something here with Robert E. Lee, was Lee's land. And Lee is obviously now gone. I am wearing, if you're looking at us on Facebook Live, Robert E. Lee Forever Lee Circle bead that is available from an organization called Forever Lee Circle, Mardi Gras beads, because the rally, as we heard 2 weeks ago, General Jim Kelly talked about that Lee was an honorable man. And actually, Dwight Eisenhower had written a letter in 1960. He had Lee's photograph hanging in his Oval Office when he signed the Civil Rights Act in 1957. And you just see that Ulysses Grant had brought Lee in. You see that FDR praised Lee. You have Eisenhower. You had Winston Churchill. You had Congress. Everybody was praising Lee up until a few years ago. So what changed that this man that actually tamed the Mississippi, was the hero in the Mexican-American War, and created the honor system for Washington and Lee University, is now disbarred. It's just sad to me. I think his line, slavery is a moral and political evil, is a great line that we should be using to end modern-day slavery, which I want to kudos to WWL for running a 2-week special on modern-day slavery in New Orleans. We have a few seconds left, and we're going to be right back, and we'll start taking a few calls, and we have a few more other things to talk about as far as what's going on with the monuments. Got through the first floor.
There you go. Almost there.
1 down, 7 to go.
That's right.
I don't, so Howard hasn't, no one's called in yet.
Now somebody's calling. 423 area code.
It's probably Howard.
WGSO. Sure, is this? Sure, what's your name? All right, Howard, let me get you on hold. We're at break. We're going to get going here in just a couple minutes.
9182, his office is on Canal Street in New Orleans.
Howard.
If you believe in the Second Amendment, the best place to go to support it, protect it, and practice it is the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center located in
I can't be
Irving
talking to him while
on
I'm waiting.
Haycock
Or-
Street.
or-
That's
You
right,
can pick the
in
phone up
Irving,
and
talk it
but
down.
it is well worth the trip.
Just pick it up on the, I'll do it for you.
Howard. Hey, I got you on the phone right now. I'll have you on the air in a second. I don't know if you saw, but actually the gentleman sent us or sent me, and I posted it, the Experience Wave, DRAP UPI Experience Wave Craze banner that was up in the dome.
It was great advice. Now it's a great gift. Name a star after someone.
Oh, you do?
$4 and a call to 800-282-3333.
All right. So, what things do you want to hit on? Anything, I think those guys it's amazing, the class of 80 as well. So if you want to talk a little bit about those guys, and your connections with some of the guys of that team.
I'm Rocky Moselle with StarRegistry.com. Since we were children, we've been told to reach for the stars.
It's I don't know. This is all kind of new technology to me, this phone, so I don't know.
Call to 800-282-3333 or visit StarRegistry.com. We will name a star after someone very special to you and send an incredible personalized gift. The new star name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Call the Star Registry, 800-282-3333.
For us, they did it for us, Howard. They did it for us. But maybe we'll talk about how exciting that season was in beating LSU and the craziness of the dome.
1, 2, 3, 4. Car accidents, dog bites, slip and falls, or medical malpractice.
And whatever you want, we can, we'll just get going and we'll just keep it going. All right, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to hang up now. And BJ's okay if I hang up. He's still there.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you in a few seconds, Howard.
Jana McCaffrey at
All right.
837-1234. 837-1234. Our office is in there. I'm on a new diet. I eat all the barbecue I can. And for, oh my gosh, this is the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. You will have to go to Hillbilly Barbecue on Hickory Avenue in Harahan to get the best ribs, pulled pork, brisket in all combinations, or call them for catering. 738-1508. That's 738-1508. Hillbilly Barbecue next to the camp on Hickory Avenue in Harahan.
Now, welcome back to Bill Wallace for America. I'm your guest host, Charles Marsala, filling in for Bill, who is doing a Second Amendment gun rights show in St. Bernard. My first caller tonight is Howard Grody. Howard, where are you calling from?
Hey, Charlie. Calling from the big city of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hey, how was that eclipse up there?
The what?
Did you guys have an eclipse?
We were 99%, so it was pretty good. It was cool.
Perfect. So, Howard, you were the guy that created Wave Craze back in '79.
Way back when. My hair was black. And I had more of it.
So, fill us in, that era, 1979, Tulane's winning in the Dome. I mean, it's packing the Dome. That's like outrageous to think of the size of those crowds.
It was crazy. It was a great year. Rock Honkus was our starting QB. We were 9-2, and it was a lot of fun to watch us play, and I was a sports writer for an upstart Tulane newspaper called the Tulane Torch, and I don't know, there's a guy named Frank Brill who started the paper. I guess he was trying to make a rivalry with the main school newspaper, and somehow I got roped into it. And I'm writing for the paper, and I had some meetings with Larry Smith, our head coach, and he had said to me, look, he said, Howard, we need a slogan. Southern Miss has got Eagle Fever, and SMU has
Mustang Mania, yeah.
It was big then. That's when they had Craig James and Eric Dickerson.
Oh, he went pro with the Rams, right?
They both went. So he said we need a slogan. So I went back to my fraternity house, and I pulled up my thesaurus, and I started looking up wave, and started looking up things that rhyme with wave. So I came up with wave crave and wave craze. And then I go to meet Larry Smith, and he put down a notepad, and I wish I had that paper. I had it for a while. So he came up with one as well. He came up with wave wind stereo.
Wind stereo. Glad you won, Howard. I'm glad you won out on Larry.
I won out on him. I didn't even understand what the heck he was talking about. He said wave craze. He said, so go with it. So came back to the fraternity house, Charlie, and you being a local guy, and I was a Yankee with some of your connections, which we talked about in the Facebook thing. We ended up coming up with these wave craze shirts and pins and stickers for the cars, and there was a lot of wave craze stuff going on in 1960.
I do want to give a shout out to a gentleman who's passed away, and that is Mr. Frank Spolita. And Mr. Frank was the gentleman that enabled us to make it happen in a short time frame. I think Tulane was maybe 4-1 or even 5-1, and everybody else told us they needed 3 months to deliver a T-shirt. He thought that we should add the word experience to your phrase there, and he made a couple of phone calls and said he could get T-shirts to us in 3 days. So it was an amazing amount of energy, and the fraternity just kicked in. We had 40, 50 guys that were out there on campus creating a brand, and just an amazing time frame with the homecoming celebrations, and just a lot of energy to get wave craze throughout the nation, really.
Right. Well, Charlie, how about on Friday nights? We would go to our fraternity house. Someone would get those rolls of paper, about 3 foot wide rolls of paper. We'd roll them out on the floor in our fraternity house, and we would paint signs. Experience wave craze. Go wave craze. And then we would go to the Superdome, obviously, long before September 11th. And we'd go there. The doors were wide open, and we'd hang these signs all around the Superdome. About 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, there's no security. I remember we'd drape them over the overhangs all around the stadium. We would holler across the Superdome to each other, and we would do that Saturday morning. It was great. So then when everyone goes to the game on Saturday night, we've already got wave craze all over the place.
Howard, I never thought about that. It was pre-9/11. We were running around the dome. There were maybe 10 to 20 of us hanging wave craze signs all over the Superdome that year. Nobody once stopped us and said, hey, you can't do that, guys, or there was nothing ever got in the way of putting up wave craze.
We just walked right in, and then we would, and plus no one really cared about us having a license. So we had the shirts and the pins, and we would just camp out in front of the entrances at the Superdome and hawk our wares, put all the cash away, and no one even checked us for a license.
No one did. I think they were just excited that the stadium, Tulane was filling the Dome Stadium, and that LSU game. It was a rainy night, I believe, because we had captive audience after Tulane destroyed LSU that year. It was just big. It was in going up to the Liberty Bowl.
I think that game. Hold on. I think that game was 48-7. We beat the Tigers.
Yes. Who was the running back, Howard? I think wasn't there a running back that had a phenomenal game besides Rock? I mean, but they had Eddie Murray kicking field goals, but there was 1 or 2 running backs that were just phenomenal.
Was Reginelli?
Yes, Reginelli. That's it. Yes, and
The freshman, I know he had
No, you're right. So Howard, right now, those guys from that team are still tailgating. And if you go to campus right now, this homecoming was a great homecoming. I mean, what's the story with those guys staying together so tight?
WGSO?
It was kind of surprising when I was walking up to our tent.
No, Charles is calling in.
And right next to ours was a tent that
No, he just had prior engagement.
had some treats that experienced wave craze with our old logo on it.
All right.
And I walked in there and asked whose tent it was, and it turned out it was Tommy Hightower's tent. Tommy, for a fact, I think he graduated in 1980, same year as Rock Hontus. He had the unfortunate circumstance of playing behind Rock, because Tommy probably could have started almost anywhere else. But so I chatted with Tommy. He knew me from back then. Vince Manala was there at that tent. Vince probably graduated maybe 83 or 84. Mike Wood was a kicker. I didn't know Mike, but he was there. But I knew Vince, and they were all cracking up. I have no idea, Charlie, why they have the wave craze signs everywhere. It was really cool. But wait, I got to tell you one story though.
Please.
You remember? I think it was maybe 1980. We were still good, and we came up with these handkerchiefs.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, we didn't print many of them. They were nice green. I still have one, and it's framed in my office here in Chattanooga, and it had the official Angry Wave, and it said Tulane Green Wave around it. And we were punks in college. We didn't know anything about having a business license or anything else, or what is property of the university. So we had those nice handkerchiefs out, and then I get a phone call from the athletic department's office. They want to see me. You remember this?
I do not. I don't remember the handkerchief, but I didn't know you got a call.
So I got a call to come in there because they found out it was me, and they sit me down and they pulled out one of those nice green hankies, and they said, "Is this from you?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "How many did you make?" And I said, "Not many." We didn't have any money.
I think we made about 40 of them.
I was going to say, we maybe printed 40 or 50. And he said, "See that Angry Wave logo?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's ours. You don't have the right to use that." And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'll do you a favor. Sell what you have, but don't make any more." I came back to you and said, "Call Mr. Frank. You can't make any more. We violated the law of the university."
Howard, I remember that, and it's all who you talked to, because I think earlier on there was somebody at the athletic department that appreciated what we were trying to do and said, "Go for it." So you get a yes from one end and a no from, I guess, the accounting department.
Yeah. I don't think Coach Smith. I think Coach Smith had already moved on by then. But they wanted us to go, but I don't think they knew how far we were going to take this thing. And we had one good hell of a party too, didn't we?
Oh, we had the best formal ever that year, Howard. I want to thank you for calling in, Howard. We got a break coming up here. It's good seeing you. Great homecoming, and roll wave. All right.
Tired of hurting and want to feel better?
Good.
Call
Do we-
Archer Chiropractic Clinic at 504-252-9182.
Anybody else calling in yet?
No, not yet.
Dr. Archer will spend some time with you, listen, and determine a treatment plan that is right for you so you can have a happier, healthier, feel better life. Don't delay your pain-free day and call him today at 504-252-9182. His office is on Canal Street in New Orleans. I'm on a new diet. I eat all the barbecue I can. And for, oh my gosh, this is the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. You will have to go to Hillbilly Barbecue on Hickory Avenue in Harahan to get the best ribs, pulled pork, brisket, in all combinations.
And when do we go back,
738-1508.
Back up, go back on there?
That's 738-1508.
let's see.
Hillbilly Barbecue next to the camp. on
That'll be about 35.
For all of your personal injury
So,
needs,
what, about
call
25?
Janet McCaffrey at
So we call that another
837
Well, this is half hour's a long break.
Yeah, bottom of the top part.
medical malpractice. She is the attorney that will offer you personalized service. With Jana, it's not just business, it's personal. She doesn't just work for money, she works for people. That's Jana McCaffrey at 837-1234, than never.
The Blind Pelican, minutes from the CBD and Lee Circle on beautiful St. Charles Avenue in the Garden District. Relax under the oaks and take in the breeze on their large outdoor deck. And if you're a
WGSO.
sports fan, the Blind Pelican has flat screens everywhere.
That should be
Blind
Charlie.
Pelican has an
Yep,
active
we're at the bottom of the hour break, so I'm gonna get you on hold, and we're gonna get going here in just a few minutes, okay?
20 specialty beers and cocktails. The Blind Pelican,
That's Charlie.
1628 St. Charles Avenue, New Orleans.
Now open 24 hours daily.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Kelly Ray. During an announcement about a program to combat the opioid epidemic, Attorney General Jeff Grody blamed Louisiana's problem on Medicaid expansion. He says once approved, it opened the door for many more opioids to become available.
When we put a program in place that automatically doubles the amount of free prescriptions available to people, it's literally like putting drugs on the street for free.
The governor's office responded and said 14,000 people have already taken advantage of substance abuse treatment under Medicaid expansion. State Superintendent of Education John White released annual school performance scores today. He says the percentage of students scoring mastery and above on English and math tests has increased 13% since 2013, which is extremely important.
On graduation, more students this year graduated high school than ever before in the state's history, and more students are earning AP credit and industry-based credentials than ever before.
This is the last year public schools will be graded on a curve. This is LRN.
And they lived happily ever after. The end.
That's how a lot of fairy tales end, but this is the SEC. It's far from a fairy tale. It's Tiger football. It doesn't get any more real, and this is where Tiger Rag magazine lives and breathes. The stories you find nowhere else. Not fairy tales, not stories spoon-fed by the athletic department. Behind-the-scenes stories. The stories that put you in the know. Now that's hot. Get Tiger Rag magazine. Get the stories your friends will be talking about. Subscribe now online at tigerrag.com or call Tiger Rag magazine at 888-443-7. Tiger Rag magazine and tigerrag.com. Stories and insights that put you in the know.
Once upon a time.
No fairy tale stories. Tiger Rag magazine stories. Call 888-328-4437.
The end.
This is Jeff Schroeder with my commentary of the day. In a new book, George Bush Sr., George W. Bush make no secret of their hatred for Donald Trump. Bush Sr. calls him a blowhard. Bush Jr. said he voted for none of the above. They don't like Trump's style. They don't like the fact that Trump decimated Jeb Bush in the 2016 Republican primaries. But they need to look in the mirror because both of them created Donald Trump. For years, Republicans were tiring of the establishment. And who epitomizes the establishment more than the Bushes? They were trying to get a third Bush elected president. Thankfully,
Yeah, it is.
Republicans said hell no and nominated the person most opposed to insider politics. The ultimate outsider, Donald Trump. Their criticism of Trump is telling. They were quiet during the 8 years of Obama. Now they're unleashed because establishment politicians stick together. The real threat is someone like Donald Trump, whose goal is to drain the swamp. More info on this and the other hot topics of the day, check out ringsidepolitics.com.
This is David Duplantier, Dean of Christ Church Cathedral, between 6th and 7th Street on St. Charles Avenue, inviting you to join us for our daily worship services in the Cathedral Chapel, Monday through Friday at 12:15, including laying on of hands for healing on Wednesday, and Saturday morning at 9:30. The chapel is located between 6th and 7th on St. Charles Avenue, and for more information, you can look at our website, www.cccnola.org.
50 years of tradition is what you'll find at Shortstop Billboards. Open 8 a.m. to 7:30 Monday through Thursday and till 9 on Friday and Saturday. Located at 119 Transcontinental, 1 block off Airline. Shortstop has great food and excellent service to satisfy whatever you're in the mood for. Dine in, take out, order online, or catering. You'll find it all at Shortstop Billboards. 119 Transcontinental,
It's
1 block off
556
Online, you'll find it at
9696. It's up here on the wall.
shortstopbillboards.no.com.
Welcome back. We're here for Bill Wallace, Captain for America. Bill's been great for us. We've had a lot of content we put on his show the last few months on the monuments and other issues in Louisiana. I'm Charles Marsala. I'm filling in for Bill tonight as he's at a Second Amendment gun show in St. Bernard Parish. I want to thank Bill for what he's done for New Orleans, and he's everywhere. Every time I go out for a political event or something else, you can see Bill. He does a lot of homework to prepare for his shows. He really cares for New Orleans. Right now I have a caller in, Charlie Bordelon, who Charlie is working on an amazing situation right now, because where we've seen monuments come down across the nation, Charlie is about ready to, he's pushing through getting one done in Beauregard Parish in DeRidder, Louisiana. Charlie, how you doing? Charlie, you there?
I'm here, Charlie.
All right, we had the volume a little bit low. All right. So how's it going with the project?
Next Tuesday, a week from today, the police jury is going to have a committee meeting to decide whether or not to put it to a public vote as to whether or not to commission a new Beauregard statue.
Wonderful. What do you think? How do you think that's going to go at the police jury vote?
Well, in previous police jury votes, it's gone 9-1 in favor of a statue of some type, whether it was acquiring the statue from City Park in New Orleans or commissioning a new statue. So this is a little different, though. I've been pushing for everyone to have a voice on this, unlike some other cities who just decided to take it upon their own, whether it was a political organization or a mayor or city council or whatever decided to take statues down.
WGSO.
What I was pushing for was for everyone to have a voice. And I'm
Sure,
excited
what's your
about
name?
this, because it's going to give, if the police jury goes forward with this, it's going to give everyone an
Okay, I see
opportunity
you speaking your
to
call.
have their vote and have their voice heard.
Charlie, let me give a little background to our audience here. So police jury, the parish out in Beauregard, which is about 50 miles north of Lake Charles, has about 10 districts. We have 10 members on what's called the police jury, whereas out here we have a city council. I got that right?
That's correct.
All right, and you guys built a beautiful new courthouse. I was out there recently to look at it. And with that, you're able now to decide how to, you honor Beauregard. Your name is Beauregard Parish, so you guys have to do the politics through this difficult era of how do you honor your parish namesake and really appease people that oppose that. Is that pretty much what you've been trying to do for a few months?
That's exactly right. And we want everyone's voice to be heard, but in public polls around here, there's been 3 or 4 polls done, and they range anywhere from 95 to 99% of support of a Beauregard statue.
So that's a big number, but you still have to deal with the vocal minority, it seems.
That's exactly right. And they are the most vocal of the group. So, and the mainstream media wants to report it as such. There's discourse and there's disagreement and that kind of stuff, when in fact, an overwhelming majority of the people do support this. And it may or may not be Beauregard in a Confederate uniform. He was a U.S. soldier for 23 years. He was a Confederate soldier for only 4 years. So those things will need to be decided by the police jury as to what the statue will look like, and it'll be put to a vote of the people, hopefully, and that'll be decided next Tuesday.
So they'll decide Tuesday, so that'll be on the March ballot? Is that about the time frame?
I think that would be the time frame. Nothing carved in stone on that, but that's what I would anticipate would be in a March ballot. Yes.
All right, so Charlie, we're here to note to turn up your volume a little bit. I'm seeing a little note here. We're going to increase your volume a little bit there. And it's amazing now with Facebook Live. I want to thank Scott for sending us that message to turn up the volume. So Charlie, with this, you said earlier you sent a note to Mayor Landrieu that you were interested in the Beauregard monument that's in storage out here. Did you ever hear back from him?
I sent, when all this first started a couple of years ago, and I don't remember the exact date, but I sent an email letter, a nice formal letter to each one of the New Orleans City Council members and the mayor's office, and basically what I got back was, thanks, we'll consider it. And that's all I got. You know, I'm an organizer, I'm a planner. I had the logistics worked out of all the trucking, the riggers, and cement finishers and electricians to put lighting up, and I had all of that worked out to where it would not have been any cost to the city of New Orleans. Now, don't get me wrong. First of all, we wanted to leave the statue where it was. That's where it belonged.
Absolutely.
The city, and the city belongs to him. So he would rather be there. If he had a say so in it, he would rather be there than here in Beauregard Parish. So we were not trying to just take the statue from New Orleans, but if it was going to be discarded and put in the trash, then
It seems like it has.
one man's trash is another man's trash.
Yeah.
So we had it all put together to where this would not have been any cost to the city of New Orleans or to Beauregard Parish. It would have been all through private donations, and the new statue is through private donations as well.
Well, and I know you guys decided at one point it didn't look like the city of New Orleans was ever going to get back to you, so you decided to take matters into your own hand and look for a new statue, it seems, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, who knows how long the Beauregard equestrian statue will be tied up in litigation. I may not live to see the day that it would be available, so we took it upon our own to commission, or at least look into the possibility. Had no idea what the cost would be of a said statue, of a new statue, so we explored the possibility of a new statue, and people seem to get excited about that, so maybe even more than the equestrian statue from New Orleans.
Do you have any ideas on how you guys are going to go? Are you going to try to stay with the Confederate theme, or go to I know he was head of the Louisiana National Guard. He ran for mayor of New Orleans. He was an engineer here. Have you guys thought about any ideas as to how do you stay with the Confederacy, or do you deviate?
The police jury will need to decide that. They own the grounds where the statue will be going, so that will be their decision. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to support what the majority of the people want. I'm not part of the police jury. Like I said, I'm just an organizer and planner. I can make it happen whenever they give me the green light.
Sure.
It's just, I want to support whatever the parish wants. So
and
whatever they design is fine with me.
And I know when you walk into that building, Charlie, you have actually a monument on one side for veterans of other wars, Korea, World War II, Vietnam. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So there's nothing right now honoring the men of Beauregard Parish that died in the Civil War.
Okay. Yeah.
No, there's
no
not.
problem.
Now, there is a small bust of Beauregard now in the
All right, let me
rotunda,
get you guys on top.
which was just recently put there. It's a small bust. It's about half life size, and it's set off to the side. So, but there is a small statue of Beauregard in the courthouse right now.
Well, it's interesting because I think Beauregard people should be proud. You walk into that square and you see Beauregard Credit Union, Beauregard Diner. There's a lot of things with Beauregard on it. So I don't, the parish needs to come to grips that Beauregard was a great man, and any of the opposition needs to back away, because this was a guy that said equal rights, one flag, one country, one people. I'm surprised they don't. I got to think he's one of the top 10 Louisianans of all time.
Yeah, July 15th, 1873, he said that.
Oh, is that the day he did? Thank you.
Yes.
I always like getting a takeaway and learning something new. So there was some I think he worked with C.C. Anton, who was an African American lieutenant governor at the time on that deal. So you've done some research on that.
I have, yes. I've done a lot of research on Beauregard. Before I put my name behind something, I do a lot of research on it, and I would not support Beauregard or anything to do with him if he wasn't worthy of that. So, he's an honorable man. New Orleans should be proud of him, and we're proud of being named after him.
You should be. I mean, he built the railroads. He was a great engineer. Actually, he was a hero of the Mexican-American War. Some think he did actually a better job than Lee with his plans on how to invade Mexico. He was an amazing tactician as well, and then he did the streetcar lines in New Orleans. So he wanted to work with the unification movement. He was a Renaissance man.
Speaking of his military experience, one thing that has amazed me, people like to bring up, well, he fired the first shot of the Civil War at Fort Sumter. Well, the commander, the commanding officer at Fort Sumter was Robert Anderson, who he had studied under, studied artillery under. And during the Battle of Fort Sumter, there were no fatalities until the surrender ceremony, in which two Union soldiers died because of an accident.
Wow.
I would find it hard to believe that they shelled Fort Sumter for 2 days, and there were no fatalities. I mean, and this was one of the leading engineers found it interesting that there were 0 fatalities.
You know, Charlie,
For one horse.
I'm glad you said that because I've often wondered about that as well. And as I've been reading about that, actually, I found out that he was sending brandy and cigars to the commander of that fort, thinking that everything was going to be resolved and Lincoln was going to tell him to come home. And then Lincoln decided to resupply the building. And I guess that's when the shots started. But I think they were very good friends. So maybe it was very hard to try to shoot at your friend. You know,
History says that he was very fond of Anderson, and they were very close. So yes, history supports what you're saying.
Yeah. Now, I do want to give you a note here that just come across the desk from Mimi, and that is that the Democratic candidate Virginia won the election. So that puts monuments at risk there, which could impact us here. We just had Katie Couric in town doing a story on monument removal. So that's that Charlottesville deal is a tough thing for us. So that I don't know if that impacts the politics in Louisiana, but it definitely doesn't help the politics in Louisiana.
Well, back to what I said earlier, the politicians of Charlottesville, the city of Charlottesville and Virginia, they didn't give the people a voice. That's what people are mad about. At least that's the way I see it anyway. The people of New Orleans or Memphis or Dallas or wherever these statues are coming down.
Sure. Charlie, we got a break coming up here, but I wanted to say I think you're dead right, and a lot of respect for you guys for taking the slow path to make sure you got that vote and got buy-in of everybody.
All right, thank you, Charles.
Thanks for calling in. We're going to be right back after the break with Mark Preuss, who is a tour, long history in New Orleans, and he can give us a lot of tips on what to see and do in New Orleans. Right back.
He's got somebody else with him too.
Mark does?
Yeah. I don't remember what his name was.
So I can just.
Yeah, you pick this up and then hit. Just hit that one right there. Yep, after you pick that.
Mark? Hey, we'll be back in about 2 minutes, and then I'll have you on.
And call him today at 504-252-9882.
We got to note that the other. I can hear you okay, but it's better not to be on speakerphone. But if you are, wait, BJ just
Don't do speakerphone.
he says don't do speakerphone.
If he wants to have 2 people on, just have him call.
Medical malpractice. She is the attorney that will offer you personalized service. With Jana, it's not just
Well, does he have his own phone? Could he call in and we can conference in
she works for
through our system?
That's Jana McCaffrey.
Yeah, why don't you have him call in, and we'll conference it in here. Production manager's telling me that's a better way to do it.
Hi, I'm Dickie Brennan, and I'd like
All right,
to invite you to our new Black Duck Bar.
anything in particular you want to hit on?
Second floor of Palace Cafe. Rum is the chosen spirit of Palace Cafe's Black Duck Bar and features an extensive rum collection from all over the world. Be sure to join us.
We could talk about the hotels. I mean, the
WGSO.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
like the bars. I meant like the bars that at the top and
Get you on
some
hold.
other stuff and
Maybe just a minute.
all the different things that
Did you say it's Carl? How do you pronounce your first name?
that your type of tours specialize in. I guess you're.
Okay.
What is your company called?
All right, let me get you on hold.
Open for dinner on Friday.
Okay.
That's Monday through Friday.
All right,
Chef
perfect.
is using classic recipes that have been in the family.
Okay. I will. I'll be right back. I'm gonna catch my breath, have a drink of water.
Steamies on Hain.
Oh, is his name Carling?
Yeah.
The best
That's
place
okay.
to go to support it, protect it, and practice it is the
Custom-
Silver North
custom-
Indoor
this
Shooting Center,
company's called Custom what?
located in Araby on Aycock Street. That's right, in Araby, but it is
Okay.
well worth the trip.
And what's his last name?
Ammo, an up-to-date shooting range, and friendly service. That's the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center on Aycock Street in
Yes.
Araby. Their website is stpisc.com.
Okay. Perfect. All right. I got what I need. I'm gonna hang up so we can get on the air.
Barbecue I can. And for oh my gosh, this is the best barbecue you've ever had in your life. You will have to go to Hillbilly Barbecue on Hickory Avenue in Harahan to get the best ribs, pulled pork, brisket, and all combinations, or call them for catering. 738-1508. That's 738-1508. Hillbilly Barbecue next to the camp on Hickory Avenue.
Welcome back. We're here with Bill Wallace for America. I'm Charles Marsala, your guest host, filling in. And right now, we are going to learn about touring New Orleans with two of the longtime specialists in this, Mark Preuss and Carling Dinker. Mark is with NOLA Detours, and Carling is with Custom Conventions. Mark, you there?
I'm Carling. Hello. Nice to hear your voice.
Yes. So, Mark, I had the pleasure of spending an afternoon with you walking on Bourbon Street. We started off at Cafe du Monde, and you showed me a little bit about what a detour means. So tell our audience what a NOLA Detour is.
NOLA Detour is, I guess you would call it, where you just sort of go off the beaten path on, and it makes us see unique. You know, a detour, you go down a main road.
Make sure they have their both of them have their speakerphones off, or radios off.
Mark, make sure you both have your speakers off on your phones.
Yeah, my speaker's off, but I'm getting a real bad little rusty connection here. I don't know what that's from. Yeah, I've walked to another room.
Okay, we're good now. All right, thank you guys. So, Mark, start over there. A detour is what?
A detour being sort of the off-path experience. You know, when you see a detour, you're asked to go down another route, another way, opposed to the way you've always taken. And that way would sometimes bring you into a neighborhood that you've never seen before, because you always go down Britannia, you always go down Carroll. And a detour will all of a sudden swing you into a neighborhood you've never noticed, a beautiful church, a cemetery, or these old houses that have all this glamorous architecture. And that's the detour that I'm referring to. That's what makes us unique. Can I jump in a minute and sort of explain kind of why there's a need for that?
Absolutely, Carl.
I think what's happened, and it's great news for the city, is that this city, post-Katrina, has become an amazing destination. It started out with a lot of board of directors that came down in community centers work after the storm, and they decided to bring corporate meetings back down. And interestingly enough, what's happened in New Orleans is that we've gone from a primarily convention-based economy to a balanced tourism. And
Guys, keep your phones up. Yeah.
We're no longer just a one-horse town, you might say. We've got cruise ships. We're the number 2 or number 1 wedding destination in the United States. So we're bringing in a brighter, younger, smarter tourist, more affluent, curious, educated, and they just don't want the cookie cutter. They just don't want the same old stuff. They want what Mark is doing. They want the unusual. They want to get behind the scenes. They want to get in the kitchen and see how the chef makes the red beans and rice, does the crawfish. All that is really where our companies are headed, is to give people authentic experiences, whether it's taking people out in the bayou rather than on an airboat. We think it's kind of fun to find a guy down there in Lafitte and go out and check crab traps, check the nutri-traps, explain about the wetlands and the horrible problems that we've got if we don't sober up and figure out how to save some of those wetlands from this extinction. So I think there's a lot of information that we try to part and give back to people and send them home with good, positive feelings about our city, but also authentic and realistic feelings about our city.
I've heard that's been a big bonding way for generations, multi-generational family trips, where you have that unique experience, and also if you're seeing the coast, then you have more of an understanding of what's going on in Louisiana with coastal erosion, and you care a little bit, because Louisiana's got, with the dead zone and with the coastal erosion, we do need help nationwide on that, that's for sure. And doing it the way you're doing it is one way to get it done.
You can't, awareness is the first line of defense, I think, and that's what we're trying to do. But it's not just that, it's trying to straighten out the history. It's trying to be careful about how all these subjects are treated. And, it's not, we don't want to be known just for ghosts and beignets. We want to be known, for, the great Fats Domino and Louis Armstrong and the great cuisine that's come out of this city and so many other traditions that have come out of New Orleans that just make it an amazingly unique place that I don't think anybody can compare it to, because it's just its own deal. It's its own, just like the Saints fans are different from all the rest. Our city is different from all the rest.
Well, you know, we have our list, and there's one of my places we went to, which was the Musicians Lounge, a Legends Bar, where you got Lena Prima, you got Fats Louis Prima, and I love Lena. She plays at the Montleon on Fridays, and she does her dad's music phenomenally. But you're right, Fats, Chris, Pete Fountain, Al Hurt. There's just so many people. Nick LaRocca. I was actually thinking that as we expand the walk along the river, you know, further up, we need to start thinking about calling it the Fats Domino Walking to New Orleans Walk, or something like that, or give some credit to Louis Prima and some of these other gentlemen who in the French Quarter made it famous. But I agree with you. People want to see that intimate connection. They don't just want to come in and go to a concert. They want something that's special.
Yeah, right. I think there's a generation that's with us now. That's I used to own Gray Line, and I owned it for 22 years. And before that, my family was in the hotel business. We had the St. Charles Hotel here in New Orleans and others around the South. But you know, those days, and I know about those tourists, and they didn't necessarily want to get off the bus. They didn't necessarily want to go to the back roads. They didn't want to go to the back streets. But they didn't have the curiosity that social media has brought to the world, and the awareness that social media has brought to the world. And consequently, we are now dealing with, and in our destination work, and our destination solution work, and in our detour work, we're working on completely different agendas that are more to the authentic neighborhood that you know and I know that we want to share with these people like they're our best friends.
Guys, we got a minute left here. I do want to say you're right, Carling, because today, as I look at Undolo.com, there's a story about Fort Jackson with a drone. So social media has opened up. I've never been to Fort Jackson. Now I'm thinking I'd love to go down there. It's out by Grand Isle. But let me get you guys to say your company names one more time and your websites, or how people could find you guys before we go to the break, real quick.
I'm NOLADetours.com. You can find me online and Facebook as well. Have a look.
Carling, what's yours?
CustomConventions.com, www.customconventions, with an S on it.com. And we've been in business since 1975, doing groups from 1 to 2,000. We did the Republican National Convention when it was here, so we're proud of our heritage.
All right. Great. We'll be right back after the break, and we have Neal Clark who's calling in to tell us about Veterans Day loans. Hold on. We'll be right back. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Tired of hurting and want to feel better? Then call Archer Chiropractic
WGSO.
504-252-9182. Dr.
Is it
Archer
me? All right,
is
let me get you on hold
with
now.
you.
It's going to be just a couple of minutes. We're at the top of the hour break.
Plan that is right for you, so you can
Is
have
that like a
a
7-minute break?
healthier, feel better life. Don't
So what,
delay your
do we have a
pain-free
right
day
line here?
and call him today at 504-252-9182.
He's on line 3.
So do I pick up first and then hit 3?
Yeah, pick the phone up first and then hit 3.
Neal?
Oh my gosh.
Hey, this break at the top of the hour is a fairly lengthy one, so it's actually like 7 minutes. So, okay. I know, hang on. If you don't mind, you can hear them. You'll have to bear through the commercials, but whatever you're doing, I mean, just know that you don't have to. Is it at 5 after that we start? We'll go live at 5 after. And then we'll talk about reverse mortgages and veterans loans. We got 10 minutes of airtime to work with. We end at right at 15 after the hour is when the segment will end. So we can just okay.
She doesn't just work for money, she works for people. That's Jana McCaffrey at 837-1234. 837-1234.
Okay.
Our office is in Metairie.
Genduce's Italian Market has a delectable eggplant lasagna, of course,
Okay.
wonderful homemade meatballs.
Yeah, that's perfect. I like that. We can start first time, and we got, how about we do it first time vets in reverse, almost like as you're aging.
Loaded with fresh ingredients. Try Chef Troy's
All right.
Sundays. That's Chindusa's Italian Market, 405 Williams Boulevard in Rivertown.
Okay. And anything you want to hit it? You know, do we hit anything on jumbos at all? If we have time, let's do those three. If we have time, no.
With Rod Williams all.
Okay.
Ralph Northam has been projected the winner in the state of Virginia with 51.2% of the votes counted.
All right. No problem. We got that. Think if I got anything else to prep you with here. I'm going to probably take one to the restroom, so I'm going to put you on hold. I'll be back in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Winner Phil Murphy
All right, bye-bye.
defeating Kim Guadagno in the state of New York. There were 3 ballot measures on the election bill. The results of those are not yet available. In just a few minutes, President Trump will make a major speech in South Korea. Once again, our top stories: Ralph Northam wins in Virginia, and Phil Murphy has defeated Kim Guadagno in New Jersey. You have been listening to USA Radio.
The New York Times #1 seller, Portraits of Courage by former President George W. Bush, is a vibrant collection of oil paintings and stories that honor the sacrifice and courage of America's military veterans. Available in a standard hardback edition, as well as a deluxe boxed edition signed by President Bush himself. Go to PatriotDepot.com/Portraits of Courage to get yours today. Use coupon code USA Radio to save 10% off your entire order.
Everyone loves liberty, so why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Stop letting others tell you what to do. Call us at 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or check us out online at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
Texas authorities are praising the sharpshooting plumber who risked his life to confront the church shooter. This is Texas Department of Public Safety Chief Freeman Martin.
Mr. Wilford, I believe he's a hero. Somebody said
WGSO.
an interview that he did with the media, and how can you not love that guy?
The sheriff of Pasco County, Florida, is
Okay, Tom, it's going to be just a few minutes. I'm going to get you on hold, and we'll be going after the segment.
Sheriff Chris Nacco says the light sports aircraft crashed into the Gulf about 10 miles west of St. Petersburg. Halliday pitched 2 no-hitters in his career.
Quarter after.
A perfect game.
He was supposed to call
dies
like
at
15 minutes
40.
ago.
Like I say, it's a sad day for us here in Pasco County. It's a sad day for Tampa Bay. It's a sad day for anybody who loves Major League Baseball. But it's an even sadder day for the family.
Thank you for listening to USA Radio News.
Get the best night's sleep of your life with MyPillow. Go to
I need to think I
mypillow.com,
wanna ask him
enter
to
promo
call
code
my
USA, and you'll get 50% off 2 MyPillow premium
Just
pillows
pick up the phone
and 2
and
Go
hit
Anywhere
one.
pillows.
Don't have to hold
MyPillow.com,
anything,
promo
just
code
the,
USA, or call
line one. Yep.
1-800-951.
Tommy?
8175.
Can you call back at 8:30? Because I have somebody on at 8. Right, it's going to come on after the break, and have another guy after the next break. I had you between 7:45 and 8. But no problem. It'll be good. I had Charlie Bruno on, so it was going to be both. It was going to be both of you guys simultaneously, but it worked. And I actually have 8:30 to 8:45 open, so you call in then, and it'll just work out perfect. Okay. All right. Thanks. Did you hang up?
Yeah, for that, just call him back. Just hang up.
Offices in Memory.
Tonight, patchy 5 for the early morning drive again around 70-ish as you start off. Watch for fog that might be dense. Otherwise, you're headed into a partly cloudy to cloudy afternoon tomorrow. The rain chance will be increasing about 30-40% with a front that'll be coming through late tomorrow, early Thursday. That front will bring down slightly cooler conditions. Looks like 70s tomorrow, 50s and 60s. 50% for the morning Thursday, tapering off. Can be partly cloudy in the afternoon and into the upper 60s. The Mississippi Gulf Coast Cabin Mineral Society presents its annual annual Magnolia State Gem Mineral Fossil and Jewelry Show. Exhibits, demonstrations, educational resources, fossils, gems, stones, jewelry, beads, pearls, supplies. Friday, Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. November 10th,
Give me
11th,
about
and 12th.
30 seconds and I'll tell you when to turn Neal on.
Pass
But
coupon,
I'm gonna
$3 for one-day pass, $5 for three-day pass. Kids 12 and under free with paid adult admission. Get more info at mgcgms.org. Rob Sanji, WGSO.
Welcome to William Wallace's Town Hall on WGSO, 990 AM and at WGSO.com. Questions or comments for your host? Call 504-556-9696. And now here's your host, William Wallace.
Welcome back. This is William Wallace for America, Captain William as I call him. And Bill does a great job. He's taking the night. He's actually in St. Bernard today on a Second Rights gun show. I'm filling in. Charles Marsala, I've been a guest for him for a long time, several months here. I'm a former mayor, ran for Senate last year in Louisiana, a lot of family in Monroe, and just numerous issues I wanted to get involved in. One of the things I wanted to get involved with was helping people with their finances, because I am a financial advisor. I was an engineer before that, but I wrote a book called 6 Steps to Financial Legacy. And that idea is if you drove Route 66, leaving Chicago when you were 22 years old, and you headed out to California and you arrived there when you were in your 80s, basically taking a decade to go through Illinois, a decade to go through Missouri. Each state was a decade of your life. This book is an idea of what to expect as you go through life, from buying your first home, building your first portfolio, to buying life insurance, to knowing how to transfer it in a trust with the most minimal tax consequences, and so that you can leave a legacy. That's why it's called 6 Steps to Financial Legacy, basically 6 states, and we have 66 topics in honor of Route 66. And we also have a 10-day itinerary that if you drove Route 66 and you were taking the time to do it, it would tell you where to stop. The people at the Route 66 Museum gave us a great list of what to do. And I've driven Route 66 about 4 times from Texas out to California, going back and forth out there. My next guest is Neal Clark, who's going to talk to us about a part of this book, which is how to buy your first house. Neal is a great guy. He's been in this business for 35 years, knows a lot about lending. And Neal, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Neal, fill us in a little bit about yourself. It's Nations Lending and Nations Loans. What's the difference between the two there, your companies?
Nations Loan Services is a commercial lender, specialized in USDA commercial lending, also SBA lending, all over the Gulf South. Nations Mortgage is a related company, and it handles first mortgage financing in Louisiana.
Perfect. So, in your focus, your career has been a lot with residential and consumer. If I was a first-time buyer, what do I need to do to get pre-qualified and get my my life together so that I can get that first home?
Well, that's a great question. To start, you would need to contact a mortgage lender, and there's a process called pre-qualification, and the lender would ask you questions concerning your income, your job, how long you've been on your job. Mortgage lenders like to see 2 years employment. It doesn't have to be all at the same company, but it should be in the same line of business.
Okay.
Also like to see income. Income needs to be at least consistent. Hopefully it's going in the upward direction. And then the other item they would review would be your credit. And your credit today, they have credit scores. Everybody has 3 credit scores. And looking for credit scores in the 600 range or higher. The lower the score makes it very, very difficult to get a mortgage. So in the higher score, you get a better rate. So you want to be on the high side of the credit scores spectrum.
And that, so that we know, I mean, almost any time you miss or late on a payment, it's going to cost you a couple of points. Is that right?
That's correct. It's the credit score is a model. It tells the lender the chance of default. So if you've had recent late payments, that's certainly a negative. That shows that you have some type of financial stress. And also an item that they look at is balances. So if you have a credit card, you want to try to maintain a balance of about 30% of
I remember when I was refinancing, I did pay down some credit cards, and I went from not qualifying to qualifying. It was amazing. The mortgage broker out in California couldn't understand or was surprised at how much of a difference it made to go from having a credit card, having one credit card with say nothing, and another credit card that you had 80% on it. If you lower it down, you get it's a nice bump on your credit score.
Yes, I've seen as much as 30 to 40 point change in the credit scores by getting the balances within the limits. And the ideal number, that's the only thing the credit score companies will tell you, is 30%. If you, on a $1,000 credit card, you need to maintain a $300 balance or less.
Okay, and then Neal, what are the ratios? We hear FHA and VA. I mean, like somebody makes $40,000 a year, what type of house note can they be looking at? Or $50,000 if it's easier number to work with.
Well, you take the gross income is the gross monthly income before taxes. You take that number, and let's just say somebody's making, let's make it easier on me. He's making $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month. Your housing ratio needs to be in the 30 to 35% range of 6,000. And your total ratio, which is your housing plus your car loan and any credit cards, needs to be in a 45% ratio. So that's where they're talking about ratios. Housing ratio is the primary one, and that's your mortgage note, your insurance, the taxes, any mortgage insurance, all combined, and that compared to your gross monthly income is the housing ratio.
All right. And Neal, tell us on the first mortgage, is there anything else we should hit on before we move on to these other two mortgages we're going to talk about?
There's different types of mortgages for first-time buyers. There's something called an FHA loan that's 3.5% down. There's a loan called a USDA Rural Development Loan that's actually 100% financing. There's a veteran loan, which is another type of loan we're going to talk about. That's 100% financing for veterans, a very good loan. And there's conventional loans, and those range from anywhere from 3% down to 5 or 10 to 20. So it's 3% down as a minimum payment on a conventional. So those are different types of different down payments. So there's different programs. Each person should get qualified and find out what's the best one that suits their needs.
Now, understand you guys actually, the advantage of being with a broker is you have access to some specialized programs, because there's some for first-time buyers where they can get in with less down if they've got a high credit score?
That's correct. And actually we are affiliated with Council Area Housing, and they will actually allow you to buy a house with no down payment through the down payment assistance program if you qualify. And generally you need scores of 660 or better, and it's a very good loan program. It's through a nonprofit in Baton Rouge called Capital Housing Authority.
Perfect. Let's talk about reverse mortgages, Neal. That's we see a lot of advertising on that, but there's a lot of nervousness about a reverse. What's the bottom line on a reverse?
Well, the reverse mortgage you have to look at, it's basically a home equity line of credit that you're not required to make payments on. So you don't have to make monthly payments. It's a line of credit based upon the value of the house and the age of the borrower. So it's a very attractive loan to some folks. It doesn't fit everybody. But if somebody has a lot of equity in their house and their income is limited or fixed, and they need additional income for their needs, medical needs, housing needs, a reverse mortgage is a good asset for them to use.
When doesn't? I mean, if there's talk of, I think if the house is vacant for a year, if you're not married and that's a situation where the person dies, there's periods there where you have to deal with selling the house, or they're gonna foreclose, I guess, so to speak. Is that true?
Yes. Well, after the person no longer lives there, either through death or they have to move to a assisted or nursing home, they have 3 periods of time, 3 6-month periods, so 18 months. Do something with the house. The children, if they would like, they could pay the house off, they could sell the house, or they could refinance the balance. But the reverse mortgage requires the borrower, or one of the borrowers, because it could be two, to live in the house, and that's one of the requirements. So if the house
So the children, when they inherit the house, they have about 18 months to get financing or do something with the house.
Correct. They would determine the balance of the house and what's the value of the house at that time, and see if should they refinance, should they sell it. If the parents will live to be 100, they may actually owe as much as the house is worth, and then they would not have to do anything, and the lender would actually take the house and sell it. It's actually a FHA insured loan, so nobody, the borrower or the children, are responsible for the debt. The house stands for the debt. They would call it interim type mortgage.
Okay. Neal, we got a break coming on. If you can hang on till after the break, I do want to talk, since Veterans Day is coming up, to give our vets a little advice here as to what programs are available, because like you said, there's 100% financing for vets. So there's things that our government does to help veterans. If you can hang on for a few seconds, we'll be right back.
Great.
Okay. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes, and we'll find out about Veterans Day loans and honor Veterans Day. Hang on.
I'm on a new diet. I eat all the barbecue.
So the treasurer didn't call.
Oh my gosh, this is the best barbecue.
No, he's going to call when I got Tommy coming on.
You'll have to go to Hillbilly Barbecue on
It's a fluid deal to do.
to get the best ribs.
Yes, it is.
Brisket in all combinations, or call them for catering. 738-1508. That's 738-1508. Hillbilly Barbecue, next to the camp on Hickory Avenue in Arahan. For all of your personal injury needs, call Jana McCaffrey at 837-1234. Car accidents, dog bites, slip and falls, or medical malpractice, she is the attorney that will offer you personalized service. With Jana, it's not just business, it's personal. She doesn't just work for money, she works for people. That's Jana McCaffrey at 837-1234. 837-1234. Her office is in Metairie. If you believe in the Second Amendment, the best place to go to support it, protect it, and practice it is the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center, located in Araby on Aycock Street. That's right, in Araby, but it is well worth the trip. For great prices on guns and ammo, an up-to-date shooting range, and friendly service. That's the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center on Aycock Street in Araby. Their website is stbisc.com.
Every day, hundreds of people in New Orleans are homeless and hungry. New Orleans Women and Children's Shelters teaming up with Grace at the Green Light to help end hunger and homelessness in our community. Join the fight by dining with one of our restaurant partners during National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, November 11th through 19th. A portion of the proceeds from your meal will help the New Orleans Women and Children's Shelter provide a refuge for vulnerable families and aid Grace at the Green Light in providing street homeless with food and transportation to go home again. Sunday, November 12th, you can fight hunger at both local locations of Blaze Pizza, or come in Monday, November 13th, to the Clearview Parkway location of Buffalo Wild Wings. Tuesday, November 14th, bring the family for fun at Dat Dog on Magazine Street. National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, November 11th and 19th. A portion of the proceeds from your meal will help the New Orleans Women and Children's Shelter provide a refuge for vulnerable families and aid Grace at the Green Light in providing street homeless with food and transportation to go home again. Visit NOWCS.org or visit for more information. With your help, we can end hunger and homelessness in our city.
Tired of hurting and want to feel better? Then call Archer Chiropractic Clinic at 504-252-9182. Dr. Archer will spend some time with you, listen, and determine a treatment plan that is right for you so you can have a happier, healthier, feel better life. Don't delay your pain-free day and call him today at 504-252-9182. His office is on Canal Street in New Orleans.
All right. Well, welcome back. This is Bill Wallace for America, Charles Marsala filling in, and my guest right now is Neal Clark. Neal is with Nations Lending, and we are getting ready to talk about veterans loans and rural loans. Neal, fill us in. How did the program start for veterans, and what does a veteran need to do to qualify?
Veterans can either be active military or veterans, or you could be in the National Guard or the Reserves. And so based upon your type of service and length of service, you would qualify. And
And what are the benefits? Is there a lower rate, length of terms, or what are some of the benefits to a veteran?
Well, one of the several benefits, one is it's 100% financing for up to $424,100, which is the conforming loan limit. 100% financing. It has a VA funding fee, but no mortgage insurance other than the funding fee that's up front. There's no monthly mortgage insurance. So it's the only loan that's out there that does not have mortgage insurance related to it, and no monthly charge for mortgage insurance. Also, the rates are very favorable. Like today, the rate would be 3.5 for a VA loan, and what's a good credit. And the reason is that is VA loans historically have very low default rates, so they're very attractive loans to lenders. So they offer very good rates, very strong rates for those. And they also are guaranteed. A portion of them are guaranteed by the Veterans Administration. That's how the loan becomes attractive.
Perfect. And then how long does it normally take to process a veteran's loan? Is it faster, or is it about the same? Or?
They take about anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to process a VA loan. As long as you have your certificate of eligibility, it should take even less time. But once you have the information together, it's just a regular loan. It just has a veteran guarantee on top of it. And there's VA lenders, and there's also VA underwriters. So it's just a specific type loan, but those folks that deal with those are very qualified and very knowledgeable what's required.
Okay. And then is that similar to like a rural loan? That's the USDA. I understand that Abraham Lincoln created that to help farmers. And now it's obviously we have a lot of people building houses and that. Do I have that right?
Yes. Through the Department of Agriculture, they have a USDA rural development loan, and that's for areas like St. Tammany is considered rural as far as the mapping. Tangipahoa, St. Bernard, Barnesville, Garrison Parish. But those are areas that they have 100% financing for rural development. And that loan has a mortgage insurance both upfront and monthly. So it's a little bit different from VA, but it's still a very attractive first-time home buyer loan.
And is there a cap on the amount you can borrow in a rural?
It's not capped on the amount you can borrow, but it's capped based upon the month amount of income you can make.
Okay.
So basically, a family of four, a person would make no more than $78,400 per year to be eligible for the USDA. If you make more than that, you don't qualify for that type of loan.
Now, in Louisiana, outside of New Orleans, it seems like most of the state is going to be rural, I would gather.
Yes, the cities, the larger cities like Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Lake Charles, in those city limits, within the city limits, they would not qualify. Shreveport would be the same. But Slidell, Vanderbilt, Covington, Hammond, all those areas would qualify. Zachary, Prairieville.
So rural is I guess, a relative term to this, almost like the city of New York. You know, that it's not like what we might consider downtown Hammond is still rural, according to the USDA. Is that right?
Yes, it's based upon a population, and they have a map, so it's actually really easy to find out. Put the address into the mapping, and it tells you if you qualified, if you're within in the area of USDA, or you're not. It's just like the income. You take the income, and you find out if you qualify. If you meet those qualifications, it's a very good loan. For first-time buyers.
Neal, what about flood insurance? I mean, things are changing so dramatically these days. Do people need to be thinking about the impact of flood insurance and qualifying?
Absolutely. That's one of the things the lenders, any mortgage loan that's originated if you're in a flood zone, you have to have flood insurance. So one of the first things the lender would do, find out how much that flood insurance costs. Some areas are very high cost, so that borrower needs to consider that as part of their housing.
Okay. Neal, how can someone reach you if they want to, if they're looking for a loan right now, and how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. You can reach me by phone at 985-778-2600. Nation, Vanderbilt, Louisiana.
Perfect. And you also said you guys are available for business loans as well.
Yes, we actually do the USDA loans. And the largest consultant of USDA loans in the state of Louisiana. And those loans go anywhere from $500,000 all the way up to $25 million.
Perfect. Well, that kind of leads in, Neal. Our next caller is actually John Schroeder's running for treasurer for the state of Louisiana. So as far as economic development and such, knowing that you guys exist, I think that's a good reference. So I'm going to thank you for calling in, and we're going to get in touch here with John and hear how his campaign's going. Thanks, Neal.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good luck to John on his campaign.
All right. Thank you, Neal. Are we there? John, Charles, how are you doing?
Hey, good evening. So I'm a little late. I'm just wrapping up for the evening.
What city are you in?
Well, I just got to St. Tammany, but I was in St. Bernard. We had a little meet and greet out at Robbie and Carlos tonight.
One of my favorite places, so that's a great place.
They certainly give you some food. I know that.
I didn't realize, last time I ate there, it was the portions are unbelievable. You got to get a go container to leave with you, whatever you get.
It's a little simple. Confession
So you're having an interesting race. I want to say I ran against your opponent last year for Senate, and he's a very quality guy. I liked Eric and admire him a lot for he's overcome a setback in life, and he just takes it and goes. Nothing slows him down. So are you keeping pace with him?
Well, honestly, as I told you yesterday, I don't know. And I've been to hundreds of meetings in the last 13 months, and I've never met him. So I really don't know him. My pace is incredible. I don't know what his pace is, but I know what mine is, and I don't know many people probably not keep up with me.
I saw you last night, and I know earlier when you were entering the race, Neal, obviously, as you know, is one of your neighbors over in St. Tammany, was very excited that you were entering the race. The state's got a lot. We are, John, we got a minute before break, so I want you to stay with us, and then it's a long break, actually. It's a 5-minute, 6-minute break, and then we'll have a full segment for you right after the break here. But I want to get a grasp on some of the things you feel are going to be the most challenging.
Sure.
Hold on, and we'll be right back, everyone, with Bill Wallace for America. When Tommy calls, Tommy's going to call me at 8:30. Let him know that. Yeah.
I'll bump into you.
Well, just ask him if he can hold, and I'll try and actually. This will probably won't go to full 8:45.
Okay.
Actually, how do I can talk to John, but pressing 1.
Just pick the phone up, hit line 1 on the phone.
Tired of hurting
John?
and want to feel better?
What would you like to talk about?
504-252-9182. Dr. Archer will spend some time with you, listen, and determine a treatment plan that is right for you so you can have a happier, healthier, feel better life. Don't delay your pain-free day and call him today at 504-252-9182. His office is on Canal Street in New Orleans. I'm on a new diet. I eat all the barbecue I can. And for, oh my gosh, this is the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. You will have to go to Hillbilly Barbecue on Hickory Avenue in Arrowhead.
Okay, I was very involved with the unfunded pension liabilities in California. Do you want to talk about that at all here?
Call them for catering. 738-1508. That's 738-1508. Hillbilly Barbecue next to the camp on Hickory Avenue in Arrowhead. For all of your personal injury needs, call Janet McCaffrey at 837-1234.
So we'll talk on these three.
Medical malpractice. She is the attorney that
and I'm trying to think of other things. We'll have about when we come back. Go ahead.
Business, it's personal. She doesn't just work for money. She works for people. That's Janet McCaffrey at 837-1234. 837-1234. Her office is in Metairie.
Sammy's Food Service in Delhi and Gentilly is a favorite restaurant for locals and tourists.
Yes, definitely is. Is there any certain projects that you feel like are a priority that you want to touch on?
Salad, seafood stuffed catfish, crunchy marinated fried chicken, homemade roast beef, stuffed fried shrimp, boar's head premium sandwiches, Chisasi ham, and the Ray Ray made famous by diners, drive-ins, and dives.
mention WGSO and receive a
Okay.
complimentary
Perfect. I think I can handle that. Think if I got anything.
State Attorney
Go ahead.
General Jeff Landrieu said today the decision to expand the Medicaid program has contributed
Can
to
you?
the opioid epidemic.
Sure, we could. Can we call him, or do you want to just have him? Do you want to unless you want to redial and just?
Prescription abusers. Yeah,
Well, it's the speaker. This phone here that I'm sitting next to my desk is bad. But once I think once you're on the system,
Yeah, he sounded fine.
you sounded fine earlier. So, but I had somebody else, one of my other callers, when I talk on this phone, they said it sounds bad. But yeah, but when you're on the radio, we didn't have that, so we'll be good.
That have received a D or F grade.
All right, we got we still have. Do we have like 5 more minutes before?
Well, we got about 3 minutes.
We got 3 minutes, and we'll be live. Okay, come on. He's going to call back, actually.
Oh, he is calling back?
Yes.
Louisiana Radio Network.
Hello, this is Rosie the Skunk for Atmos Energy. You might think I make a bad smell. I mean, of course you do. Why wouldn't you? After all, I'm a skunk. But my stinky fragrance is nothing compared to the rotten egg smell of a gas leak, because that could be dangerous. So if you think you smell a leak or encounter other signs such as hearing a hissing or blowing sound or seeing a vapor cloud, blowing dirt or bubbling water, do not smoke, talk on the phone, turn on or off equipment or vehicles, or do anything that could cause a spark. Leave the area immediately. Then call 911 and Atmos Energy. Atmos Energy will send a trained technician to investigate the situation. Take it from a skunk. Gas leaks just plain stink. Seriously, there's no gray area here. When dealing with gas leaks, it's black and white. Yeah, that's a little skunk humor there. For more information, visit atmosenergy.com/gas safety.
Tired of hurting and want to feel better? Then call Archer Chiropractic Clinic at 504-252-9182. Dr. Archer will spend some time with you, listen, and determine a treatment plan that is right for you so you can have a happier, healthier, feel better life. Don't delay your pain-free day and call him today at 504-252-9182. His office is on Canal Street in New Orleans.
Today, there's no telling where your business might take you, or how quickly you'll have to react to market demands. Whether you need postcards designed, printed, and mailed quickly, a high-quality brochure, or training materials, Sir Speedy's got you covered. Attractive and compelling signs can create a big impact with prospects and customers. Working with Sir Speedy means you work with our sign experts, who not only offer a wealth of formats and fabrication techniques, but will also integrate your signs into your overall marketing strategy.
All right, Tom.
Sir Speedy is
gonna be just
a skilled marketing team. With 40+ years of experience, we understand the benefits of integrated marketing and can help you develop entire campaigns spanning a range of media, both
Tommy's
offline
there.
and online.
Okay.
Or
Let him know
your
that he's got a hold
strategy is
for about
already
a
underway. We can help you get your next project out
Just
the
need
door
John to call
fast.
back in now.
Quick turnaround is in our name.
SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com.
Every day, hundreds of people in New Orleans are homeless and hungry. The New Orleans Women and Children's Shelter is teaming up with Grace at the
WGSO.
to help end hunger and homelessness in our community.
All right,
Join
John,
the
let me
fight
get you
by
back on
dining
hold.
with one of our restaurant partners during National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, November 11th through 19th. A portion of the proceeds from your meal will benefit these local organizations. Visit NOWCS.org or graceatthegreenlight.org for more information. Together, we can end hunger and homelessness in our city.
Welcome back. We're with Captain William Wallace for America. I'm Charles Marsala, the guest host today. And William is doing a second rights show in St. Bernard on guns. My guest is Treasurer candidate John Schroeder. And John, let's pick it up where we left off. You were mentioning about the bond rating, and as I'm researching that, we have been downgraded, and that's obviously a huge impact on the budget. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, I tell people it's no different than what happens in your private world. You know, when your debt's out of control and your spending's too high, it costs you more to borrow money. You go to the bank and you're buying a house and your credit's not great, you're going to pay a higher rate. You have a credit card you're not paying it all off, you're going to pay a lot more. So I mean, the state's the same way. So if the state has high debt and it seems to be a higher risk, they're going to pay more money to borrow money.
Does the existing debt adjust? Like, is it adjustable things? If we've got, it is.
Yes, you can go back and redo your bonds and refinance. So, you know, if the state's economy improves and our debt improves, then your rating can be adjusted. But, you know, they're looking for sustainability, consistency, that you're taking care of your business. And, you know, that's why I tell people the state debt and the state spending habits are absolutely of interest to this treasurer, because that's what controls the bond ratings.
And you've been in the legislature, as I've followed you, this has been something you've been on for a long time. I mean, it seems like you really do have an agenda here to get the bond rating back up into a good space.
Well, look, I've spent 10 years working on budget issues in the state, you know, basically beating my head against the concrete. And, you know, I'm convinced that if the state just followed some of the same practices that you and I do, Charles, and the rest of the citizens and taxpayers of Louisiana, where you simply don't spend more money than you have, we can start correcting this. But we spend more money than we have. It's insane. Our budget grew this year by 3.3% while we were in a deficit.
Wow.
Chuck, can you do that in your life?
No, not at all. You know, a lot of that is that automatic increases that they just can't control, or they just love to spend.
Well, some of it is growth, you know, benefits and insurance and things like that all go up. The problem is, as it goes up and the economy is sluggish, it grows faster than what the economy is growing. Therefore, you don't have the money to sustain it. Now, in the business world, what happens if you have 10 employees and your expenses are going up and you can't afford that, then you typically have to get rid of an employee. You know, you have to do something to bring your expenses in line with what you can afford. The state doesn't do that. The state just grows and tells you to go raise taxes, go give me more revenue. And I take the position, I said, you know, the state's going to have to learn how to live within a dollar amount. That's it. If that means you're going to have to downsize a department, then that's what you're going to have to do.
You know, John. As I ran around the state last year campaigning, and you got to learn things about water and infrastructure, and Flint, Michigan comes to mind. I mean, we have some cities in Louisiana that really need infrastructure for clean water and other issues. Is this until we can get this taken care of with our spending? I mean, are we really starting to turn into the risk of seeing some Flint, Michigan type problems?
Well, I'm not saying the state's going bankrupt. I just know that we're at a crossroads of between what we want and what we can afford. And the state's going to have some tough decisions to make. I don't think there's an appetite in the legislature to raise revenue. And if I'm a vet guy, I don't think they vote for another sales tax increase, because this sales tax that was passed 2 years ago, it goes off the books. So if they would have to pass a new tax to do it. It doesn't automatically renew. I just don't think they're going to do it. So the legislature, the administration is going to have some tough decisions to make, because I don't think the majority of people in Louisiana are willing to pay income tax.
No, right. Yeah, I agree with you that we're a very conservative state, and getting a grip on a lot of the spending is going to be tough. And at the same time, as you drive the state, you can see just roads or other projects that would be great to finish, but it does require a lot of realignment to try to find the funds to get some of these done.
Well, yeah, Charles, and the problem is the people have lost faith in government. So when you start telling the taxpayers, hey, we want to raise your gasoline tax because we want to do more infrastructure projects. Well, that doesn't sit very well because nobody trusts the system. I don't trust the system. I think the system's broken. So why would I put good money into a broken system? So you have to fix the political system before you put good money into what I call a corrupt system, where it's a pay-to-play political process that I don't agree with. I have voted against the capital outlay bill numerous times after serving for 10 years, and it's a broken process. So I don't support raising those type taxes until they give some local options to people and give parishes like St. Tammany, where I live, some ability to have projects constructed based on what they think needs to be done.
It's all about local. You're right about that. You know, you got to get the money into the hands of the people, so you're not taking it at the state and having 5 and 6 people trying to tell St. Tammany or St. Bernard or North Louisiana, wherever, how to spend their money, and it's just, that's where you lose it, because you have all those positions to pay for.
No, there's no question. So using St. Tammany as an example, which is a high growth area, paying a lot of taxes, send it all to Baton Rouge and then have to beg to get it back. And then if you don't vote the way the governor wants, the governor punishes you. You know, they had a levy project that was vetoed by the governor because the North Shore delegation didn't vote the way he wanted them to vote. So let's just not do a project that Slidell needs to protect its citizens from flooding. That's good. That's a good policy.
I was appalled as I've been back for 4 years from California, and just seeing how that does happen. You think it can't, because if you've got to protect the citizens, how could politics come into play? But it happens. I mean, it's Louisiana, and it's amazing when you see Baton Rouge or the governor punish people because he doesn't. If they vote against it, it's unbelievable.
Well, and that's, I want to try it.
Oh, I lost you there, John. Yeah, I'm back. You're back. Go ahead.
Sorry. I said that's one of the reasons I'm running. I don't like what I see inside the circles, and I want to expose it all. There's a better way to do it. As I said earlier, people losing faith in our process, losing faith in our political process, in our business process, in our nonprofits. And we have to have leaders who will stand up and just call a spade a spade. Sometimes, as you know, if you have children, sometimes you have to tell your children no.
Yes, absolutely.
And we are there. We're at that point, and that's what I said in my commercial, that I will be willing to say no. Somebody has to do it.
All right. John, we're getting close on the break here. If someone wants to learn more about your campaign or help you out with any donations, what's the website? How do they reach you?
Yeah, it's www.johnschroeder.com, and you can reach me directly through my website. I answer all my emails personally. You can donate, call, whatever, however you want to communicate. Facebook, the whole 9 yards.
Great. I wish you the best, and you're running a solid campaign there. So I look forward to having the state be able to work with you. And stay tuned. We're going to be right back with Tommy Bruno. Tommy's a high school buddy who is a sculptor here in New Orleans, and he's actually working on a couple of projects that are very much of interest to us. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after the break.
I need to tell Tommy, I'm sorry to get to him, to hang on.
Okay, so just pick the phone up and then pick up line 1.
Tommy? Hey, you're going to be on right after the break, so sorry I kind of cut you. Like we said, it's fluid, but okay, perfect. It worked out. We had a good night, so you and I will go. We're going to start at about what is it? We have 2 minutes. It started 8:47 or 8:48.
It'll be at 8:47.
8:47. We'll start, and we're going to go for about 5 minutes, Tommy. We'll talk about the artistic value of the monuments, and then because the show ends at 9, and I need a couple of minutes to just pull everything together that we talked about tonight. So we'll start at like 8:47. We'll go to about 9:52, 9:53, and then I'll wrap it up. Because what time do we? what time did the commercial start?
8:57.
8:57. So
8:50.
8:57 is when I. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, it was a good first. It was a good learning lesson tonight. You know?
837.
Well, maybe that, you know, didn't know if people would get bored on some of the things that we just went on and on. So I thought. You know, other than you caught Neal, and he was a little bit different. But you know, prior to you, we had Bordelon on the monuments. I don't think you will, because he really talked about the election that they're doing and what the police jury's doing. It wasn't very little on, I think, things that you even more. Yeah, it was more the intimacies of trying to get it to a vote and all that. So I think we're good there. Okay, so I'm going to put you back on hold. We got about a minute, and about a minute. I'll.
Yeah, I've got about a minute. A little more than a minute.
A little bit more than a minute, and I'll be putting you on. All right.
The best place to go to support it, protect it, and practice it is the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center located in Araby on Aycock Street. That's right, in Araby, but it is well worth the trip. For great prices on guns and ammo, an up-to-date shooting range, and friendly service. That's the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center on Aycock Street in Araby. Their website is stbisc.com. Tired of hurting and want to feel better? Then call Archer Chiropractic Clinic at 504-252-9182. Dr. Archer will spend some time with you, listen, and determine a treatment plan that is right for you so you can have a happier, healthier, feel better life. Don't delay your pain-free day and call him today at 504-252-9182. His office is on Canal Street in New Orleans.
Welcome back to William Wallace for America. I'm Charles Marsala, your guest host. And my guest right now is Tommy Bruno. Tommy is a classmate from high school. He's also a sculptor. His work is phenomenal. And just coming back and reconnecting with Tommy and seeing his career and all the work that he's done and his passion for his art, just amazing. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Tommy, you know, I started actually on our town's art committee. I was a photographer, and that's how I got politically started. So seeing you and just embracing the passion, I mean, I think our audience would love to hear you articulate how the monuments that we're seeing being removed, it's really about the art. I mean, you think about these sculptures and Alexander Doyle and some of the greats that created these pieces. You know, the seeing the people, how sad they are when they drive around and just see an empty pedestal. What is it like for you as an artist to see, like, you know, I'm thinking it's almost like seeing the Mona Lisa removed from a museum, what we're doing here.
Well, Charlie, the thing about it is, I've made these pieces like this. I mean, I've made monumental sculpture for public settings, and I've done it from scratch. I've conceived the idea. I've made the molds, casted the pieces, and then installed them. And it's a huge, huge effort. It's a tremendous amount of energy, of creativity, of physical labor to put these things together. And to see them dismissed, just wiped away. They're just like Mardi Gras trash. They sweep it up off the floor, and they put it in the garbage truck, and they throw it away. It's crushing. It's heartbreaking. And the thing about it is, Charlie, these are not just ordinary monuments. These are some of the most fabulous monuments in the country.
It's unbelievable. Like, they're over 100 years old.
It's unbelievable because the thing is, the United States is a very young country. We struggled to establish an art tradition in our country. We had to send artists abroad, study in Paris and Italy, bring these people back here, and we invested a tremendous amount of effort at the turn of the century, especially. Civil War veterans were getting old, and they wanted the folks to remember their sacrifice during the war, both North and South. Incidentally, Northerners came to the dedication of the Robert E. Lee. They were invited to come and witness because that's the spirit that imbued the time.
And Tommy, that was actually before the first World's Fair in New Orleans. I mean, so that actually was a...
1884, I think it was.
Yes.
So, in any case, the point is that these monuments, which are so beautiful and so spectacular, fabulous examples of art. Any city in the world would be proud to have these monuments, especially the equestrian statue of Beauregard. That is a knockout piece. I mean, my goodness. And then the Robert E. Lee is just a statue of this fabulous, fabulous statement. And then the city just tosses it out. And Charlie, the most exasperating thing about it is you and I both went to the meetings. We listened to these folks talk about these mines, and they're all talking about the historical issues involved, the South and secession and so forth, slavery, Jim Crow. No one mentions the art. The museum's not there. CAC's not there. No art historians. Nobody was representing the value of these pieces as pieces of art. Now, George Smith and I came as private artists, citizens, to speak out on behalf of these monuments. Well, what are our credentials, right? I mean, we're not art historians. We're not curators. We're not representing museums. I mean, you think that the city council would at least have these voices show up to mention the value that they were about to destroy, but not a mention. Not a mention. What exasperation! Here I am in the artist. I'm dedicating my entire life to this stuff, and it doesn't even matter.
You know,
No one cares.
and Tommy, you explained to me like just the detail how a little change here and there creates a whole different meaning for the person who's looking at the art. Like Lee's toe, or his So these guys.
It's incredibly powerful. It's well thought out. It's very.
WGSO.
The sense of protection.
All right, Phil, let me get you on.
Of a paternal sense of looking after his family, of overseeing his nation, his property, his family. I mean, it's incredible. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Tommy, are there? We obviously have a lot of universities in town, a lot of museums. Do we have a lot of artists that are losing out by not being able to see a Lee, or even the tourists, people that would come here from other places that are artists, to take in the artwork of New Orleans, to teach them and
Charlie, when you go to a city, what's the first thing you look for?
the art.
You look for the architecture.
I
You
know.
look for the art. You look for the sculpture. You look for. You want to taste the food. You want to experience the art of the community. So what is the first thing the city of New Orleans does? Oh, let's destroy the art of the community. What do you say? Why don't we destroy the art of the community? That'll make New Orleans more attractive. I mean, Charlie, it's crazy. It's insane. It is absolutely insane to destroy the most beautiful art in a city for the sake of really questionable, dubious arguments. Arguments that could be, that on any given day could be taken either yay or nay. Okay? So here you are, you're dismissing all this beautiful art because of what? Because somebody's insulted, somebody hurt, you hurt my feelings? I mean, what are you, 5-year-olds in the kindergarten play yard? I mean, give me a break. What we're talking about are pieces of art that only come along every 100 years. These are not just pieces of art that somebody can throw out in a few days. This is an artist, Alexander Doyle. How many Alexander Doyles do you think could have come along in every 100 years?
Yes, like one or two. You're right.
Out of the universities, they're just all this tremendous talent that's popping out of these universities. I'll tell you what, it is very difficult to create a great artist. It's very, very difficult to create one. It's very difficult to support one. Even if you have a great artist, do you have a community that's ready to receive that art? That's willing to spend the money to put his art or her art into a special place in the city. That's why you have so few great pieces of art on a cityscape. And the Italians, when they look at this, they think it's insane. They think it's absolutely insane. What are you doing destroying art? wipe that out because they know it's too precious. Here we are in New Orleans, destroying our own legacy, dismantling our own legacy. Charles, let's put it this way. If this was a piece of architecture, it would be like tearing down the Cabildo.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be the comparable example would be tearing down the Cabildo. Because of what? Explain that to me. Taking down a St. Louis Cathedral. The most precious sculptural artifacts that we have in our city are being taken down. For what reason? Remind me?
You know,
100 years from now, do you really think people are going to be thinking about that? People are going to be looking around saying, well, geez, what kind of beautiful art does New Orleans have? Well, I don't know, because they tore it all down.
somebody said, Tommy, it was like taking the lung, the heart, and the kidneys out of a World Heritage Site. There's a gentleman named Charles Lincoln.
George Smith at the city council meeting was reading documents from the UNESCO in which it made it very clear what the city of New Orleans was doing. It was violating the most fundamental cultural aspects of this city, and he was shouted down.
It was unbelievable.
Shouted down.
Tommy, I know you're working on a project to make some smaller versions of these, and you've been doing a great job with that. A lot of that's on our YouTube channel, which is Save NOLA Heritage. We're getting up against the break here. I want to thank you for calling in, and I'll look forward to having you back. It's been great working with you on all of these projects. And you're out there in New Orleans. If people want to find you, as far as your breadth of potential as sculpturing is not just limited to the mid-1800s. You can do anything, really, from what I've seen. And I love your work. It's just great watching what you've been able to do. I'm going to catch up. I got to sign off here, Tommy, and thanks for calling in. I want to thank everyone for tonight. We've had a great show, and I'm sorry, Phil the Patriot, we can get to you. I want to thank everybody again, and in honor of veterans coming up this weekend. Pay attention to what's going on with the city council race, and especially as we see these expenses and the state gets involved with trying to let the city council know they've got to do a better job with controlling their expenses. Have a great evening, everyone. Be safe.
I'm on a new diet. I eat all the barbecue I can. And for, oh my gosh, this is the best barbecue